This is the Horror Movie Show on hmpod.com, hosted by Jerry and Mark, your one-stop shop for all horrible movie reviews. From the latest blockbusters and independent films to classics, let Mark and Jerry convince you the world is a dangerous place, though often good for a laugh. Now come and listen to the Horror Movie Show, if you dare.
Howdy, folks. Jerry here.
And Mark.
Bringing you the latest episode of the Horror Movie Show on hmpod.com. So, what's going on? Hey, how about U.S. politics, hey? Could those loonies get any loonier? It's like one big loon fest.
I can't believe how much money they spend.
Oh, yeah, that's mental. It's because all politicians can be bought. And sold.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah.
The Koch brothers they paid for all the right-wing loons.
Yeah, you wonder why they don't go left-wing as well, and therefore they cover their bases.
Well, they're left-wing supporters among the billionaires, too.
Yeah.
Like Warren Buffett, I think, gives money to the left. But in any case...
I like his records.
Warren Buffett, yeah. Tequila. No, is it Margaritaville?
That's it.
Yeah. Little accountant voice. Wasting away again in Margaritaville. Okay, so all right, that's enough politics. Jeez, what a filthy business it is. That's all I know. My God. Every 2.5 years, the Americans gear up for another federal election.
Yeah.
And that's all we hear on the damn news.
Yeah.
That's all anybody
and
seems to be
all
able to
about
talk about.
Not important stuff.
No.
I mean, it's like they waste...
All they do is preach to the choir. You know,
Yeah.
They have their supporters on either side, and for some weird reason, the great unwashed idiot masses who support the Republicans, you know, the white trash, the bigots, the racists, the homophobes, all those jerks vote against their own interest. No unions, no minimum wage. I mean, all the things.
No health system.
Yeah, all the, no food stamps. Have you seen in some of the states, they've got bills going before their legislatures to prevent people buying seafood, like shellfish, with food stamps. Because, it's too good for them.
Yeah. The lobster's too good for them, or crab's too good for them.
As if poor people... Oh, I finally got my food stamps. I can buy some lobster.
Yeah.
I think if you're on food stamps, the last thing that you're looking for is to blow it all as quickly as possible on the least amount. But for Pete's sake, I mean, a poor person isn't allowed to have, a nice clam dinner now and then.
I was watching an interview with Obama, and he says, the right has a tendency to show these people that abuse the system.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't know where they find these people. I don't even like these people.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, poor people are, not...
Genuinely poor. They're distressed.
They need help.
Yeah.
And
But these swine, one of these jerks came out recently and said, I don't understand this helping the poor. Where does it say in the Bible that we're obliged to help the poor?
Jesus?
Yeah, I think so.
Didn't he mention something about that?
Check your New Testament. Also about the assholes who make a big show about praying in front of other people.
Mm-hmm.
They've had their reward. That's what JC said. They've had their damn reward. They're not getting points with the big guy upstairs.
Yeah.
They've had it. They better enjoy their the pathetic little bits of praise that they get for their crystal churches. Because God doesn't give a damn about churches.
So you believe in God?
I believe there's a malevolence to the universe, which may just be indifference, but in any case, none of us is getting out alive. That's what I've learned over the years.
I just think it's funny, because I might have mentioned this before, where, people saying the resurrection. Well, there have been people who have been buried for centuries that are still waiting for the resurrection. It's like the ones that think it's going to happen tomorrow. Right. Oh, it's here. All signs are here. They're the ones that say, I can believe, I'm going to be resurrected or ascended or whatever. And these poor suckers have been lying around for 1,000 years. Are probably a little pissed, saying, what took you?
Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're lying around pissed. Yeah. I think it's funny that each of these loony beliefs has specifics to it, which are still just loony beliefs. And I really have to say, I am just tired of having to be polite to Christians and other religious nuts. You know, just because there's a billion of you believing the same ridiculous superstition doesn't make it any truer. It just means that you're a scary, bleeding mob of lunatics, and you kill people. That's what groups of lunatics do. For all the good that religion has done, well...
Yeah, was the Dark Ages a good thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's mental.
Let's kill all the scholars and burn all the books.
Kill the unbelievers. Kill the people who don't look and sound and act just like us. Well, that's exactly the Republican philosophy. And it isn't a Republican philosophy. It's a hateful philosophy of the money-grubbing scum who manipulate the poor and the stupid and the bigoted and the racist and the homophobic to do their bidding.
Yeah.
But it's always against the interests of the voters.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I love it when they mock our medical system up here.
Right.
They just mock it.
Yeah.
I can go to any hospital.
Yeah.
I can go walk into emergency and they will fix me up and I don't pay a penny more than what I do, you know, a monthly
medical. Yeah.
Monthly medical.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid that if I get sick or hurt, that I will no longer have any money.
Right. Right.
And these guys, they just can't get it in their heads.
Well, it's because
that this is a good thing.
It's because the money fighting Obamacare through the Republicans is from the insurance companies.
Of course it is.
From the private medical companies.
Of course they don't want to change it.
No.
They're making too much money as it is. And if they can look at a sick person and say, I'm not paying for you. Sorry, get out of my sight.
Let them die.
Let them die or go somewhere else.
Yeah.
They're quite happy to do that.
Yeah.
They can't do that here.
No.
They cannot do that here.
No, although Harper would like to change things so that we are as cold and dead-eyed as the Republicans in the States are. Certainly.
Yeah, well, I think his days are numbered.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, eventually he'll die. Eventually.
I'm going to go kill him. Right?
Hey, you know, you're not even allowed to joke about that with the passing of Bill C-51.
Oh, is that right?
Even just joking about such things could be taken as a serious enough threat.
That's pretty scary.
It is very scary. I was doing everything I could to battle against the goddamn thing.
Yeah.
But, that's enough politics. I'm sure we've driven some listeners away by now. Okay.
Now we can talk about them.
Now we can talk about them, yeah. I think we just were. Okay, let's talk about ABCs of Death 2. 30 directors involved, including Larry Fessenden, the animator Bill Plimpton, and Vancouver folks Jen and Sylvia Soska, the Soska sisters. The first one was entertaining, but I would say only about a third of the 26, 27 episodes were really fun to watch. Mm-hmm. In this one, I think that dropped to a quarter of them.
Yeah.
Maybe a quarter of them were worth watching.
Yeah,
I was expecting it to be of a higher caliber all the way along.
Yeah, same here.
And the best ones were really good.
Yeah, and it seems like the two best ones were right at the beginning.
Yeah, yes.
It's like the first two, I went, whoa, this is really great.
My favorite one was B for Badger.
Yeah.
Directed by Julian Barrett, the taller of the two guys in Flight of the Conchords.
Okay.
He's a New Zealand comedy actor.
Oh, okay.
He was just in What We Do in the Shadows. Did you see that one?
No.
Oh, that's a funny vampire movie. He was one of the old vampires in that.
I liked A for Amateur.
Right.
Which you thought when you're watching it, it's A for Assassin, right? Right. It's just so funny because it shows what he wanted to do and then what really happens.
How it goes wrong, yeah.
It was so funny.
He's an idiot. Yeah. His little fantasy.
But, same results either way.
Yeah. And did you like the B for Badger?
Yeah.
Just that hole in the ground.
Like I said, the first couple were excellent.
Yeah.
And the fact is, he's just standing there, and all of a sudden he gets drawn, yanked into this hole.
Pulled into the badger.
It was funny because then they get projected into the air and land in the field somewhere.
Some big badger down there with a catapult or something.
Like you said, very
hit and miss.
Hit and miss. There was all sorts of the animation was kind of gross in sections. Mm-hmm. There was all sorts of different types of medium they were using.
Definitely.
And
I enjoy that. I enjoy seeing the variance between filmmakers. I like that.
In that respect, I think they got a good thing going here, but they gotta up their ball.
Yeah. I know this was like there were contests. Who will be the 26th director and so on. But no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that it wasn't of a higher quality overall than the first one was. And in fact, I enjoyed the first one better because it was new, and I was expecting more from part
the second
two.
one. Yeah,
as one does. You know, if you're going to make a sequel, there should be a reason why you're making the sequel.
Right.
You know? And at the very least, the quality shouldn't go down.
No.
You know?
No. Some of it was really odd.
Amateurish.
Yeah.
I think I'd still recommend it for the parts that were good, but there's just so few of them. Wait for a chance to see it on Netflix or something, because it's not worth paying a full rental for it, because you're only going to enjoy it.
Because honestly, you can see better stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
Hillbilly Horror is showing interesting shorts, in their anthology videos. So check them out instead. Or at least they're nice guys.
Well, let's hope that part three will be better.
Yeah, could well be. So now I saw this, but Mark hasn't seen it yet, so we'll probably talk about it more. But I wanted to mention it because it's still a new movie. It Follows, 2015, written and directed by David Robert Mitchell. One of these guys with 3 first names. It's me, David Robert Mitchell Smith. Stars Maika Monroe. I really liked her as Jay. Lily Sepp as her sister Kelly. Jake Weary. That's a great name for an athlete, I think. Weary. As both Hugh and Jeff. Daniel Zavato as Greg. And Keir Gilchrist as Paul. I watched this one twice because I really liked it. This is a movie that you think it's going to be another teen maniac killing teens.
Right.
But in fact, they've come up with a unique monster. And the main character, Jay, Maika Monroe, she just is really nice, down-to-earth, pretty blonde girl, high school. And she's got a boyfriend, a new guy that she's just met, and they're getting along, and as one does, she has sex with him one night, and then everything seems to be going great, and they're a little pillow talk afterwards in the backseat of his car, but she's having a nice evening, and he getting something from the trunk, and when he comes back into the car, she thinks everything is all lovey-dovey, and the next thing you know, he's holding a ether-soaked rag over her face, and she wakes up tied to a chair in an abandoned warehouse or something. And he's explaining to her, this is nothing personal. I like you. I really do. I'm sorry I had to do this to you, but it's coming for me, and I had to transfer it. And that's the way you transfer the monster chasing from me to you, is having sex with somebody. So I would suggest, Jay, go and have sex with somebody and get the monster off your back. But tell them to also have sex, because if you die, then she's coming back after me again. And after she kills me, it will be going after the person who gave it to me, and so on down the line.
So it's like one of those chain letters.
Yeah, exactly like a chain letter. Now it isn't a completely original idea, because certainly, The Ring is a similar idea where you watch the video and a week later you're dead, right?
Right.
This is sort of like that, the inexorable monster coming after you, but the interesting thing here is that it's like an old school zombie. It can only walk as fast as the shape, the human shape that it's in. So, for example, if it's an ugly, hideous-looking old woman, it shuffles and shambles towards you, right? You can see it coming across a field or a parking lot for minutes, and you can get in your car and you can drive like off into the woods, and it'll take days for the thing to reach you, but it's always going to be coming for you, and it's never going to stop, right?
Right.
It's inexorable. So she's got her little group of friends, including her little sister and an ex-boyfriend and a guy who's like the first guy she ever kissed when they were little kids, and you know, she's got this group of loyal friends, and they're doing everything they can. They believe her, which is the first thing they had to do, and they're doing everything they can, including her old boyfriend sleeps with her so that it'll be coming after him rather than her. And because he doesn't see it, and nobody sees it unless it is actually coming for you. But they see some weird things happening. Like at one point it grabs her and they can see her hair suddenly shoot straight up in the air because it's got a hold of her. They can't see it, but they can see that something is bashing her around, and they get her away from it and they drive away again. But it's always going to be coming after you. And I don't want to give it all away, but it is a really scary monster. And of course it can move quicker if it's in a different body. At one point it puts itself in the shape of like a giant, like a 7-foot man. When it takes its strides, it comes right at you very quickly, and it's like just a little room. She thinks she's opening the door to let her friend in, and the thing just comes right over top of her friend, just passes right through her at her.
Wow.
Yeah, it is really good. You'll like it when you see it. It'll definitely be in the top 10 list, I think, for this next year. It's really well done.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I say, I haven't seen Maika Monroe, who plays the main character Jay. I haven't seen her in too many things, but I really liked her in this, and she's just darn likable, which is nice. Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of times, for example, last week we talked about Eat.
Yeah.
And the pretty blonde actress who played the main character in that. She was, you know, pretty and seemed smart enough and all that, but I wouldn't say she was 100% likable.
Right.
You know, and I'm just talking not the actress, but just the character that she's playing.
Right.
She's a bit of an egotist, whatever. And plus she had mental problems. This girl, you'd like her to be your high school girlfriend. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, okay. We'll get on to one that Mark has seen, Iron Doors. And this is a movie from a few years back, 2010, directed by Stephen Manuel, written by Peter Arneson. Only 2 people in it. Alex Wedekind plays the guy, and Rungano Nyoni plays the woman.
Yeah.
And he wakes up, and he's in what essentially looks like a empty bank vault.
Yeah.
It's got a huge vault door on it that he cannot make headway, even though there's a cutting torch and some hammer and chisels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He can't make headway on the door.
Yep.
So he starts bashing on the wall.
Which is cement,
But he manages to get through, even cut the rebar that's in there, and he manages to stick his head through, and it's just another cell. Exactly the same, only it's got a woman in it.
And she's in a coffin.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is more comfortable than what he's got.
And she can't speak English.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's intriguing.
Yeah.
To find out what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
He goes into fits and things like that.
He's so angry at just being confined.
And plus the fact that he knows that they purposely left him tools to get out, but he has to figure it out.
Yeah, because he doesn't know how to use the tools.
Yeah, and plus where to use them.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
he does figure out a few things. I thought that the coffin was kind of interesting, but they really never used it much. Didn't use it at all, in fact, other than the fact that that's where the woman ends up being.
It was an odd place to.
Yeah, I thought that it would come into play in the next place they got into.
Right.
And it never did,
even
though there was a grave.
Yeah.
A plot hole there.
Yeah.
And I figure, okay, there's got to be some sort of correlation there.
Yeah.
But I thought that.
And they're so desperate. They're sort of making up their own rules. They're trying to figure this out and really only making it tougher on themselves.
Yeah.
But it's well done. I thought this would make a good double bill with something like Buried. The Ryan Reynolds movie from a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And again, you don't know what's going on, and it's an interesting ending.
Very intriguing.
And and at the end of it, you go, well, That's okay. That's one way of ending.
Yeah.
One way, because it has to be some sort of resolution.
Right.
But at the same time, I didn't expect that.
No.
And
it's
so
good.
it's basically a psychological thriller kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I disagreed on the way he was hammering the wall.
Right.
Because I saw at one point with the torch he had, he had gloves.
Yeah.
Why did he take his gloves off when he's hammering away on a chisel when the gloves could have protected his hand?
A little bit.
Yeah. I'm going, that doesn't make sense. I mean, that's the first thing I'd do is put on these stupid gloves.
Making him sweat.
It hurt him because he smacked his hand a couple times.
Yeah. I was waiting for that. That's a cheap thing to do in any movie is to do exactly what we're all expecting to have happen. Like, that's when the person cuts themselves or hits their thumb or something. It makes us wince.
And when they were both trying to do the hammering, it's her holding the hammer and him you can't do that.
I wouldn't trust that.
That's just a recipe to kill yourself.
Really.
Lose that hand real quick.
Yeah.
But unexpected ending. I thought it rambled on. It was frustrating. You really felt the guy's frustration.
Yes. Yeah.
And a very simple movie.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple.
Yeah. 1-2 room set.
Yeah, if that, needed. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, you never
screen.
You never saw both rooms at the same time, so it could have been all one.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was.
With one big door.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
one abandoned bank vault somewhere.
And they blew their budget at the end, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's.
Of course, it's just.
Yeah. It's nicely done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Iron Doors. That was a good movie. Wyrmwood, 2014. This one is being compared to Mad Max. It's Australian for one thing. Directed by Kia Roach Turner. Sounds like a really bad job at a Fleabag hotel, the Roach Turner.
It's like, like cattle rustling.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Written by Kia and Tristan Roach Turner. Stars Jay Gallagher as Barry, Bianca Brady as Brooke, Leon Burchill as Benny, and Luke McKenzie as the captain. It's actually got quite a large cast. So this is after the zombie apocalypse, and everybody's sort of on edge, but even more dangerous than the zombies seem to be the
survivalists?
Other survivors, which is always the way, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they're the ones with the brains.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The main thrust of the story is Jay Gallagher's character, Barry, has that morning had to mercy kill his wife and his daughter, and now he's going to rescue his sister, and she's in trouble as well from a couple of swine. They dress like cops, whatever, but they're just evil and trying to kidnap her because she's a babe, and it's just, so there's lots of guys dressed like the maniacs in the Road Warrior. But other than it being Australian, I didn't really see the connection to Mad Max.
No, Mad Max is much bigger in focus, I think.
You think so?
Yeah.
Bigger world.
This one is just the trials and tribulations of this one guy trying to get to his sister.
Yeah, and the sister.
And the zombies.
He runs into a few people along the way.
This is sort of a comedy.
Yes, it has black comedy.
Yeah, and I love the fact that the zombies are used as fuel because they are belching this green gas.
Right. Yes, yeah.
So it's funny because
like a methane or something.
All the petrol in the world and all the combustibles suddenly stop working. Mm-hmm. So they can't get any of the cars to work and any of the equipment, which I thought was funny because they did have a generator running.
Right.
What the hell were they running the generator on?
Right.
So at one point, one of the zombies gets his breath lit on fire, and all of a sudden this flame shoots out, and they look at each other and say, "Okay, how can we incorporate this new technology. So they make this basket on the back of their truck. They put a couple zombies in there and they tie them up and they shove hoses
down their throats
so that they can breathe right into the engine.
Yes, and so that's how you power the vehicle.
Yes,
at least until your zombie runs out of gas.
Yeah, but they seem to last forever.
They seem to.
Yeah, and so the more zombies you have tied up in the back, the faster you're going to go.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's how they decide to escape from this house that our garage that they're held up in.
That's right.
Very funny in those respects. Very imaginative. Anyway.
Yes, it's nice. It's got a few interesting takes on the zombie situation, but I wouldn't say it's 100% successful. But it's a fun movie to sit around with a couple of buddies.
They have a
laugh at.
The sister has been caught by these guys that are doing experimentation on her.
That's right.
They're injecting this stuff, and the guy
from the zombies.
Yeah. And this guy who's doing it is this scientist dressed in yellow. Yeah. Oh, I just love that character.
He may not be a scientist, Mark. I don't want to scare you. He may not have qualifications.
But the way he's dancing around, he's dancing to Casey in the Sunshine's band.
And he's dancing with zombies.
Yeah, he's do a little dance.
Yeah.
And he's basically torturing the zombies and torturing her. Yeah. He keeps injecting her with the blood of the zombies just to see how they know that a small portion of the population is immune to the zombie virus.
Right.
And it turns out like A negative or B negative was the blood type that was immune. And so they wanted to see how much of the
zombie juice
they could inject her with before she would become a zombie or whatever. But what happens to her is she gains the power to control the zombies around her.
Yeah.
So that whole storyline was really unique.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree. The movie has some nice touches, but that reminded me a little bit of Dead Snow 2.
Right, a little bit.
The main character could control the zombies that he made, the good zombies.
Right.
Yeah.
I was really pleasantly surprised with this movie. It's funny. It's got some unique ideas in it, and the characters. Yeah. Some of the characters in there are just off the charts.
Absolutely
wild, and I really enjoyed them because.
That I think is probably more where the comparison with the Road Warrior comes in, because it had some interesting characters in the Road Warrior.
No, I can see that.
Yeah, that I was thinking in terms of action, but the costumes, a lot of the bad humans are wearing.
There's something about Australian zombie or horror movies in general. They really know to get creepy.
Yeah, they can. The English are good at that too. There's a take on the zombies that other nations seem to have. The American zombies are pretty staid in comparison.
And another reason why people are comparing it with Road Warriors is the cars are running.
Right.
They look Road Warriors.
Right. Yeah.
And some of them have masks.
Yes.
So they do
like giant shoulder pads.
It's a mini, kind of like mini Road Warrior kind of thing happening.
You know, the trouble with dressing yourself up with the giant spiked shoulder pads and stuff like that is, where exactly do you get that stuff? You know? Just because it's the apocalypse, it's not like this stuff is lying around behind barns just waiting to be put on.
You have to make that yourself.
You have to make all that stuff. Yeah.
You can't even buy that at stores, I don't even think. And if you did... I mean, what kind of store?
Yeah, no, I don't want to go there. Okay, next movie is 2014, Don't Blink, written and directed by Travis Oates. Stars Brian Austin Green as Jack, Mina Savari as Tracy, Joanne Kelly as Claire, Fiona Gubelman as Ella, Zach Ward as Alex, and Robert Picardo from Star Trek Voyager as the Man in Black.
He's only in there very short.
Yeah, but he's like one of the names.
I was surprised to see him.
Yeah. Well, he can be very funny. He's usually comic relief on Voyager.
Yeah, playing the hologram doctor.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. The man with no name. So this is about a group of like 10 people who show up at a hotel.
Lodge.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere, and they haven't got enough gas to leave, and once they're there, things start going horribly wrong.
Yeah, people start disappearing.
Yeah.
There are no monsters.
No.
They just disappear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could be talking to somebody, and they go around the corner, and they're gone.
Well, that's the title, Don't Blink.
Yeah.
'Cause that's all it takes for somebody to vanish. And one by one, they're blinking out. They're just...
Well, when they get to the lodge, they notice that there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Okay, and things are left in a state where it looks like somebody had just been there.
Yeah.
You know, the...
breakfast half eaten.
Yeah.
Cigarettes burned out in ashtrays.
You know, fires warm, things like that, and there's just nobody there.
So
and
whatever
there's,
happened
at this
just happened.
Yeah. So this is out in the wilderness with log cabins.
Yeah.
So they came in about 3 cars.
Yes.
And there was a, exchange of ideas. Oh, let's pool our gas together and try to get away from this place.
Work.
They didn't have enough gas to get all the way back out because it was like 100 or 200 miles in and out.
I seem to remember 120.
The majority of them decide, well, we got to stay put.
Right.
We got to stay in this cabin and we'll wait it out. Of course, there are no phones, no cell reception, no nothing. Yeah. So they're basically isolated there. And then they start disappearing. And it gets scarier and scarier as more people start disappearing. It's not like there's any mutilation. Tension starts to grow.
Simply don't exist anymore.
The tension starts to grow with the guys.
Yeah.
Different factions start materializing.
Yeah.
So that's where this whole movie is.
And the idea that, well, we can't separate. We've got to stay together. But even that doesn't help.
Not at all, because like you blink.
You sneeze, and they're gone.
One person's sitting there at the fridge. The guy opens the fridge door, covers her up a bit, and then closes it, and she's gone.
Yeah.
Then it's the reactions of the group. And... what are we going to do next?
Right,
and who's going to take charge? And
absolutely,
the ending wasn't satisfactory. It just didn't make sense to me what was happening at the end. And I felt it was a cheap, kind of a cheap way of going.
Well, overall, I found it an unsatisfying movie. I thought it was all right. And I know Brian Austin Green's got an awful lot of people who despise him for some reason. I think because he was on some primetime soap opera or something when he was a young man. I didn't find the actors bad. I didn't find the writing and directing from Travis Oates to be bad. Just overall kind of unsatisfying. Just another mediocre thriller.
I was enjoying it up to the end.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, but I would have liked to seen a little more of why this is happening.
Right.
Because it really didn't explain much about that.
Right.
So what the heck was going on and why?
Yeah.
And if you're not going to go and venture into that and you just have a very simple premise, because it is a very simple premise.
The idea is simple.
And it doesn't go anywhere? That's a disappointment.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's just...
Okay, this doesn't sound like we're recommending Don't Blink. Next movie, Big Driver, 2014, directed by Michael Salomon, written by Richard Christian Matheson. Now, he's the son of Richard Matheson, who wrote The Incredible Shrinking Man and about half of all the original Twilight Zone episodes and Outer Limits.
Oh, there you go. Well, this is based on a Stephen King novel.
Yes, it's based on a story by Stephen King. Yeah. Stars Maria Bello as Tess Thorne, Ann Dowd as Ramona Norville, Will Harris as the big idiot Lester, Joan Jett as Betsy Neal, and Olympia Dukakis as Doreen. The story here is that Tess, played by Maria Bello, is a writer. This is sort of a female version of Misery.
Sort of.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Stephen King really can lack imagination sometimes. Maybe that sounds like a silly thing to say, but it really bugs me when he writes about writers. You know, way too often, Jack Torrance is a would-be writer. Misery, James Caan's character is a writer. Tess is a writer here. You know, get over yourself, Stephen. How about a haunted plumber?
No, but you know, he understands writers.
Yeah, sure he does. Yeah, he understands the struggling writer. So Big Driver really refers to this lunatic Lester, who is a serial rapist and murderer. Tess's car breaks down. He says he'll help her, and the next thing you know is he's covering her with a dirty rag and raping her and throwing her into a sewer where he thinks that he's drowned her and he'll never see her again.
Right.
But she wakes up and she's wounded, but she's not dead, and she sees all the other corpses and she escapes and makes her way back to town, and then it's a matter of revenge, and it just becomes a rather pedestrian revenge movie. And I really like Maria Bello. I've liked her since I think she was in the Howard Stern movie way back when. In this, you know, she's likable enough, but she's supposed to be a writer who writes mysteries all around this group of old bags who share the same house she lives in, and they're all amateur detectives, and she's half mad after this rape, and she's constantly getting, these characters are popping up and advising her what to do.
I don't think that those characters I think they've been along with her all along.
Yeah, but now they're giving her advice on how to kill.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
she
lived with them.
She mentions that these voices in her head have always been with her.
Yeah, that's how she writes her stories.
Yeah. So these characters that show up in the movie are friends of hers.
Yeah.
And so
originally,
I found the movie entertaining.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
I found it a little slow.
I thought it's a good TV movie.
Yeah, that's what it ought to be. Yes. I just didn't think that it had enough to it to drag me into a theater.
I thought it was an interesting twist on how things people think and how they...
Right.
It's more of a mystery thriller.
Right.
Because she's trying to figure out how this happened to her, who was behind it, and that's what the story is, that once she's molested, she recuperates and she doesn't tell anybody about what happened to her.
Right.
And she tries to figure out why it happened to it, how it happened, and then she goes for retribution.
Well, also to stop this maniac, because he's a serial. He just keeps killing women.
And so it's a lot of the dialogues in her head.
Yeah.
And justifying and trying to solve the mysteries.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought it was a good TV movie, because it was entertaining to me.
Okay.
Like you said, it's not theater worthy.
No, it's not that good a movie. And the funny thing is, this was made within the last couple of years as well as a short film. So you can find, and they're both called Big Driver, and different actors and all that, but both based on the same Stephen King story.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you look up Big Driver on IMDb, you'll find both of them there. All right, well let's talk about one that we didn't have time for last show, which is The Woman in Black 2, Angel of Death. Now, it's directed by Tom Harper, written by John Croker. Good name for a horror writer. Stars Phoebe Fox, lovely Phoebe Fox as Eve Parkins. Helen McCrory as her boss, another teacher, Gene Hogg. Oakley Pendergast as a little boy named Edward. And Adrian Rollins as Dr. Rhodes. Really, it has very little to do with the first movie, which starred the Harry Potter kid in a Victorian story. This is now set during World War II, when a lot of the kids, especially orphans, were being hustled out of London and the other big cities that were being bombed by the Germans, and sent out to safe houses in the country.
Right.
So these people have been sent,
unfortunately,
to the haunted house.
It looks like a burnt-out shell of a house.
I know,
mansion.
Cold and miserable looking.
And
there's supposed to be hundreds of other kids joining them, and they never show up.
Yeah,
it's just like an empty haunted house.
I thought, well, geez, if all the buildings in it that they could have sent them to, this thing is full of garbage and dust, like an inch full of dirt on everything.
At least send in a couple of women to clean the place before you send the kids in.
Yeah.
It's not as if they had to clean the entire mansion. They just had to clean where people were going to be living.
Yeah.
Which is ground floor. Jeez.
It starts off with the kids playing it. Well,
it starts off during the Blitz.
Yeah,
everybody
the Blitz.
In the tube station in London, and the bombs going off above ground.
And one of the ladies that accompanies the main matron and the children. She's sort of the maid. I don't know what.
Who are you talking about? The main character?
Yeah.
No, she's a teacher and like a governess. She's there to look after the kids.
She's not the head person.
No, she's working. I just said her boss is Jean, played by Jean Hogg. Yeah. No, played by Helen McCrory. Her name is Jean. And yeah, she's in charge, but Eve Parkins is like with the kids.
She feels the presence of a haunting before anyone else.
Yeah, except for young Edward, who's like possessed.
Yeah, but he gets possessed. But right when they get into the place,
well, she's sensitive.
She can feel that there's something happening there.
But eventually, the haunting becomes so obvious that everybody's scared.
They actually are running away from the haunting. They go to an abandoned mock airfield, and it follows them there.
That's right. Yes, the young man who's the love interest for Pretty Eve. It turns out he's got post-traumatic stress syndrome, which of course hadn't been invented in those days, but he was the sole survivor of a bombing flight that went down, and he's the only one who survived, and he can't fly anymore because he's not competent.
So they send him off to nowheres.
Yeah, to look after this fake airfield, which is just meant to fool the Germans when they fly over, so he lights up the fake planes and they waste their bombs.
Right.
It's a true thing. They
really did that.
They really did that, yeah. Also, another thing that people don't realize, but before the war started, Hitler would have foreign dignitaries like Neville Chamberlain, the English Prime Minister and total idiot. He'd show an airfield full of fighter planes, and then they'd say, now, on to the next field, and in the hour and a half that they were driving, they would fly all those planes to the next airfield. and when the people showed up, Hitler would go, look at this, another field full of airplanes. So that the impression was that the Germans were much more heavily armed than they really were.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of nonsense happens on all sides.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. So, it's got a good look to it. I like the actors in it, but overall, I just have to say that it was such an insipid and wimpy little ghost story.
Yeah, it was.
There's just not much to it.
No.
It's another disappointment, just as there wasn't much to the first one. The woman in black, she's not scaring me. Put her in plaid, maybe. Because there's some plaids that are pretty darn disturbing. You see that green and orange plaid? Oh, Lord, that'll burn your retinas out.
Yeah, and the resolution at the end is not satisfying, so what the heck.
I had to watch it in a couple of goes because I actually fell asleep.
And did they? I think they should just burn the house down.
Well, that's it, yeah. Two hauntings. 2 mediocre movies, burn the house down and fire all the actors. Okay, well, we've got one more to talk about, and I found this a very interesting movie. I'm not sure what Mark thought of it. It's Dahmer from 2002, written and directed by David Jacobson, and this is why I wanted to watch it. It stars Jeremy Renner as Jeffrey Dahmer.
As a young man.
Yes, 2002, so it's a 13-year-old movie. And, of course, he's now Hawkeye, but he was, if he didn't win the Oscar, he was up for an Oscar for the excellent Hurt Locker.
Right.
Which won Catherine Bigelow Best Director that year, and it was certainly one of the best pictures.
Right.
And it's a horror movie in its own way, of course. It's
I'm wondering
scary.
If they interviewed the people that were in there and kind of like, I guess it's based on a book.
I don't know.
The movie or something?
Yeah, it must be.
It just shows how sick he really was. He's like a normal guy, but wanted to experiment on people.
Oh, now you're confusing me, Mark. I thought you were still talking about Hurt Locker.
No.
You're saying Dahmer is based on a book? No, it's based on the true story of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
It says right at the beginning that it's not completely factual.
Yeah, factual. Yeah.
Can't be. A documentary can be factual about a fictionalized movie like this. It's supposed to be a night in Jeffrey Dahmer's life. And he picks up a young black guy, very likable kid. He's, 20 years old or something. Very likable young guy. I didn't even know he was gay until he's back at Dahmer's place and they're both gay. But Dahmer is not gay. He's homicidal.
Yeah.
He's got a body rotting away in his bedroom.
Yeah.
And this young guy is there, and he's saying, you want to go in the bedroom? And Jeffrey's like, let's wait a bit before we go into the bedroom. And it's like, can this young man keep talking and charming Dahmer long enough to survive? And also, of course, Dahmer screws up because he doesn't have his knockout pills.
Right.
He uses knockout pills. But there's a scene which is just really a fantasy in Dahmer's mind where he goes to this gay club, like a bar, and they have little sex rooms at the back. And in his fantasy...
Was that a fantasy?
Well, yeah, because he's like killing... The bodies would be piling up. I mean, how many bodies does he take to the back and drug and leave there?
True.
Like a dozen. Even a maniac can't have sex that often in a night. So yeah, I mean, they catch him maybe when he's putting his drugs into a kid's beer, and they catch him and they punch him and throw him out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, that's just like his sick, perfect fantasy would just be to have nonstop young men unconscious.
The way this is shot or presented was it flips between about 3 different events in his life. It's looking at a person that he subdues with drugs and ends up drilling into his brain and killing. Yeah. And then there's the black boy.
The kid, yeah.
And
played very well by Artel Great.
And then there's the clubbing thing and interactions with people outside of his house.
Yeah, his little apartment.
And his mother and things like that.
Well, not his mom, his dad and his grandmother.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was not looking forward to seeing this movie because when you recommended to watch it, I'm going, it's the last movie out on the list, and I didn't want to watch it. Yeah. But I found it fascinating.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to watch those movies like Gacy, where it's just like showing his hideous crimes and almost sort of reveling in it.
Yeah.
This, at no point you have anything but horror at what Dahmer's mind is like.
Yeah.
And the hope, of course, we know he was murdered once he was in prison. He was murdered by another inmate for being Jeffrey Dahmer. But in this movie, what got me was I was holding out hope that the young man would make him a better person, would make Dahmer a better person. Mm-hmm. Because he's really offering love. He really is. He's really a sweet guy. And it's heartbreaking because here he's sad because as far as he's concerned, Jeffrey's being mean to him.
Yeah.
He has no idea how mean Dahmer's going to be to him if he gets the chance.
Yeah.
But luckily for him, he didn't have enough pills to knock the kid out.
Yeah.
And he only had like scotch and Coke, which is a disgusting drink. And the kid didn't like it.
So he didn't drink a lot.
Yeah. So there you go. But good acting all around. And of course, Jeremy Renner's a terrific big actor.
I was surprised to see him in that.
Yeah.
And I'm going, geez, he looks young.
He does. He looks 20 years old, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's very young.
And of course, I assume this is a true job that Dahmer had. He works at a chocolate factory.
Yeah.
So he's constantly... And
the thing is...
Think how quickly you would get sick of chocolate if you worked at a factory.
Yeah.
The smell of it in your face all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be nauseating.
Yeah.
Going hungover, you'd want to vomit all day. I couldn't stand it. Chocolate is such a powerful drug.
Yeah. Fascinating movie. I was glad to see it wasn't just centering in on what he did.
His hideous crimes.
It was more centered in on what he was like as a person.
Yeah.
And
a little bit on how he got there, a little bit on his family life. Like there's a really tense scene. Jeffrey's staying with his grandmother and his father. He's already been in trouble. He's already, been... Yeah,
his father does not trust him.
And his dad is naive, but it doesn't trust his son. And he says, I see you've got my old, I don't know, it's a small...
microscope or something.
Wooden box with a microscope or something. And he says, let me see that box. And Jeffrey says, no. Eventually he says to his dad, it's got dirty magazines. It's got homosexual dirty magazines in it. You don't want to open that up in front of Grandma. And of course it's a human head wrapped in saran wrap inside the box. And his dad comes that close to discovering what he's got.
And it does show the part where, the famous thing where the police bring back.
It's so sad. Some little Asian guy that he picked up and drugged, and the kid managed to run away in handcuffs, and he's running naked down the street, and the cops picked him up and gave him back to Dahmer.
Yeah.
Dahmer said it's a lover's tiff. And he's surprisingly
not
liberal.
in the movie they don't say that.
Oh, yes.
No,
because that was true. That was a true one. Is that he's my boyfriend, and we had a fight, and he ran away. And they say, he's really, really drunk. So, and the cops give him back.
But they said, we're going to watch you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They can say that all they want, but they didn't. Damn cops really blew it with Dahmer. They should have been able to lock him away several times. You look at these serial killers. Dahmer is one, but...
how many people was he supposedly killed?
Oh, I don't know, a dozen or so. But you look at somebody even more successful in his maniac career, Bundy. The cops had him, and they had him dead to rights. They knew he was a murderer. They knew he was a serial rapist and killer. And they put him in a room alone that had a window that he on the ground floor, and he opened the window and he stepped out and walked away. It's like, what were those cops thinking? And he then went to another city and killed another dozen people. Jeez, it just makes you fear for your life that the cops are going to kill you. Anyway, I just thank goodness I'm not a young black man in the U.S. because it's not worth it.
You could be.
Yeah. Okay, let's quickly look at the movie. So Dahmer, we both liked that one. Surprisingly better than we might have expected.
Yeah, it's not a feel-good movie, that's for sure.
No, but it is fascinating if you like those stories of craziness. This really is a horror movie. The Woman in Black 2, Angel of Death.
It looked good, like you said.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with
the acting
or anything
like
that. It's just the story sucked.
Yeah, it does. Just like the first one. Big Driver, based on the Stephen King story.
I thought it was entertaining.
Yeah, it's all right. I would say it's good, but it's...
If you like revenge movies, it's a good revenge movie.
Yeah, it's a revenge movie. Don't Blink, mediocre.
Yeah, I thought it had a good idea, but it really didn't take it far enough.
No, again, like a TV movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wyrmwood, the Australian...
I loved that.
Good. Well, Mark loved it. I liked it. So that's a recommendation from us both. Iron Doors. I loved that one. I thought that was very well done.
I thought it was okay.
I love a nice, simple...
It is very simple.
It's amazing what you can do with and I mentioned Buried with Ryan Reynolds. That whole thing takes place in a coffin.
Yeah, I know. You were more impressed with it.
Oh, I was.
I was frustrated with it.
Okay. It Follows. I really liked it. Mark has no opinion on it.
I don't.
Because he hasn't seen it.
That's right.
And finally, the ABCs of Death 2.
Has its moments.
Yes, and unfortunately very few moments.
Yeah.
But there are maybe half a dozen scenes that are really well done, and maybe another half dozen that are okay, and about half of them are not so good.
No.
Yeah, not even worth time.
I was disappointed.
Yes, I wanted to like it. Okay, folks, so that's it.